This is the kind of American you're up against. And why you don't stand a chance, you asshole.
So I'm on my first set, I'm watching all of this, and I went, oh, I'm not sure I can do this real well. My first fight scene was against an actor called Richard Norton. I don't know if you know who Richard Norton is.
Yeah, I know Richard, yeah.
Yeah, but he was fantastic. Still one of my great friends today. So that's my first fight scene against him. And then that was it. I go home, and then I get this phone call to fly to Los Angeles, and I got my first film in Revenge of the Ninja, and then it exploded all over the screens. It was all over the world. I had two premieres. I went to Los Angeles for a premiere for a martial arts movie, my first one ever. And I know years later, I had friends like very good friends, like from the UK, Gary Daniels. He was in 30 films before he got his first, his release.
Wow.
And it's just hard to get to a movie theater. That's what they call a a theatrical release. And I was very fortunate. My first one, I star in. I'm in every theater in the whole world, basically.
So when you first went into that, had you ever done any sort of acting, or they just took you straight on?
Oh no, they took me straight on, and believe me, I suck big time. I'm a fighter, and here's what happens: you get in a ring, and the referee goes, "Ready, bow to each other, and fight." And you get into this mindset. You don't you don't project anything but confidence. So let's say I get hit. I don't go, oh. I don't project pain, sorrow, anger, man. There's none of that. In film, you have to project every one of those emotions. So I really had to turn and figure out a way to start projecting. And I took a couple acting classes. So I go do my first film. And I'm pretty confident. Director goes, ready, action. I go right back into my mental attitude, mindset as a fighter. And it was hard for me to get out of that. It took a couple films before I started relaxing. And then I could open up. Working with Shokasugi and Jackie Chan would come grab my eyes and open my eyes up sometimes. Keith, project more, project more. It was just hard for me. But again, I'm coming from a fighter's background. And a lot of these guys like Jackie Chan came from an acting background. And it was a little easier for them.
Keith, how did you find the transition with obviously sort of film work? I know sometimes you do hit each other, but majority of it is controlled, isn't it, on the film set? How did you find that from fighting full contact into having to sort of pull your punches? Or
Well, it depends on where you film too. Here in the States, much more control. Everything's angles. You actually don't hit anybody. You cross the line. It really depends on the person reacting. Here's what people don't know about films. I don't care how good you are, you're only as good as the person reacting to your techniques. So let's say you're the best kicker in the world and you do a spinning kick and the guy reacts like this. Well, all of a sudden the audience is drawn to the guy that you just hit. It goes, oh my gosh, the kicker has no power. Look how strong that guy is. So that's why on a set, all the actors are so interested in finding the right cast members and stuntmen that know how to react. Because when you throw a punch or a kick, you're not making contact. If that person that you can hit can pirouette and spin and fall on the ground, audience goes, "Oh my gosh, that's the best fighter ever." No, technically it was the stunt guy that made you look good. So I later produced as well, and I always made sure we found the best stunt people to make the actors look great or the actresses look great. But working now like with Sammo Hung and Jackie Chan and Young Bao, that was a whole different story. They like contact, and we would hit a little bit. It was tough, and the amount of takes we would do. There's no what they call unions or Screen Actors Guild. There's guilds you have for acting in the UK or in America, and there's certain rules and regulations you have to abide by. Well, you go overseas and you're working with a Chinese company, the only rules you abide by are their rules. I'd pull a muscle and they take spray and they just spray, go deaden it. Come on, keep fighting. Let's go.
I was going to say actually about them sort of films, like the sort of Chinese films. They're less health and safety wise, aren't they, to the sort of the Westerners? There's
Oh
probably
yeah.
a lot more goes on in the than it does in the sort of Western world.
and and it's hard, but it's extremely satisfying because it's like the wild west. It's rough, it's tough and tumbling, but you're working with the single best athletes, martial artists on the planet. Imagine I've got Sammo Hung, I'm fighting, and Yong Bao and Jackie Chan and Benny Urquidez and we're all fighting these guys over and over. And it's not like in hindsight did I appreciate it. I appreciated it during it. I knew who they were before. So when I'm filming with them and fighting with them, I'm loving every second. I'm not going, you know, uh, I just love it. I respected them, admired them so much, but it was like I was so pleased and proud and happy to be doing what I was doing.
Just what you're stepping on there about the guys you were just filming with. That was from the film Wheels on Mills, wasn't it? That was one of my
Right.
favourite films growing up. Was the watched that so many times. That same cassette used to get put in and played and played. I'll just ask you a few questions about that. Did
Please.
you already know Benny the Jet before that?
Right. I met him on the set of Force 5 the year earlier. And I knew of him. Now get this, I was the number one fighter in point fighting, tournament fighting in the nation, but I was number 5 in the world full contact. Benny Urquidez was number 1 in the world full contact, my weight division. So I knew one day I'd have to fight Benny Urquidez in full contact, and that is not a pretty sight. Benny was 60-0, very few people. He went all over the world knocking everybody out. So I knew I had my hands full. So I knew of Benny's reputation. I knew so much about him than he knew of me. But I met him and worked out a little bit with him. But when we got to the set in Barcelona, Spain, that's when we started training together and fighting and working out on our off days. And what a great thrill that is to be, to train with Benny Urquidez. And then I don't know if you know this, but just recently, last few months ago, we did a film called Black Creek, and
With
they
Cynthia
asked us
Rothrock.
with Cynthia Rothrock,
Yeah.
and I had no ambition to fight in a film. But Cynthia says, as a favor to me, would you mind doing a fight scene with Benny Urquidez? I said, sure, let's do it. So we went to Arizona, out in the desert, freezing temperature, middle of the night, and Benny and I had an old time fight scene. They choreographed, and there was a German stunt coordinator named Mike Moeller, who was just fantastic. And he put the fight sequences together, and it was heaven for me. Here I am, an older gentleman, and I'm looking across the screen. I'm looking across, this desert, and I'm fighting Benny Urquidez, and it was a flashback to when we were younger. I loved every second of it.
I look forward to watching that film when it comes out. It sounds amazing. So can I just ask you a little bit in a bit more detail about sort of the Wheels on Mills? There's some great scenes on there. How sort of long did that take to actually film them fight scenes?
Here's the thing. These fight scenes do take a few days. I mean, you might see a 15-second or 30 seconds of something, but that might be a day or 2 days worth of work in those scenes. There's one sequence where we come up from the table at the end of the film, and all of us are close to the end of the film, and we're in a dining table. We're in a castle in Barcelona, Spain. It's just beautiful, a real castle. And all of a sudden, we jump up and we start the fight. And then Benny goes off and he fights Jackie for that tremendous ending. I go off and fight Yong Bao and Sammo Hung. And so we did it together. But when I split, I'm fighting Yong Bao, and then Sammo Hung joins in, and Sammo has a weapon, a long spear. I'm fighting 2-on-1. One sequence where we just had to do 3 or 4 moves took 50 takes in a day. Now, here's the thing. I'm doing jump spinning kicks, round kick spinning. Do that 50 times. Do that 50 times as hard as you can right now. It wear you out. And then again, again. And you never know what's going on. It could be, the camera angle, there might be misses, whatever. There was even one time where I spun. I'm supposed to break his staff, Sammo Hung's staff. So I do some kicks, I do a jump, I break Sammo Hung's staff, and then I kick him in the head. One take, I went too deep. I did my jump spinning kick. I didn't break the staff. I hit him in the head. and knocked him out. And he was out for
Oh,
solid 2 minutes, just unconscious. To knock out Sammo Hung for 2 minutes is quite a feat because he's big and strong. And he didn't get mad at all. He got up and goes, he just clapped and gave me a bear hug. Okay, again, let's do it again.
oh, really? I was about to say to you, how did he take that? But he laughed about it.
Oh, he loved it. He loved it.
That's crazy, isn't it? Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
imagine that happening sort of nowadays, you just sort of, you probably get thrown off the set.
Oh, yeah. In one of my fight scenes with Jackie Chan, I hit him too hard at the beginning, and I just knew I was fired. In my mind, I'm going, oh, they're going to send me right back from Barcelona, Spain, back to the States. And Raymond Chow was there. He was the producer, and there's Sammo Hung and all these people. And there's another 100 people watching. They had buses come in Barcelona, coming into to the sets just to watch Jackie Chan. And I heard Jackie, and I went, oh, I'm in trouble. I heard him again, oh, I'm in trouble. But they just expect that. They're tough. Just keep doing it.
Can I just ask you a little bit there as well? Obviously, there was a lot of tables and chairs getting broken stuff. What were the props like there? Were they because I've seen documentaries with Jackie Chan, and some of the stuff he used, they're actually real. They're not actually like props. So how was that on that set for you?
Oh no, there even some of the chairs and stuff that we were doing in the castle were actually, antiques from the castle.
Really?
And the tables and stuff, they weren't brought in. Those were actual artifacts from hundreds of years old. But I know this at the end, they had to pay me back because I had hurt Jackie and Sammo and Young Bao at different times in the movie. And so payback's hell. So what they thought was, how can we pay me back at the end of the film? So the whole crew shows up. And then my last fight scene is when I'm fighting Yong Bao. And it's a really good scene where I'm chasing him and chasing him, doing the kicks and stuff. I jump across a couch, he jumps across the table, and we sit and look at each other. Then I jump up to get him, and there's a tray there with a pitcher of wine or champagne or whatever. He's supposed to pick it up and hit me over the head. Well, of course, in the States, it's called a breakaway. You don't even feel it. So Samuel Hung comes out there and he has a tray. So Samuel brings a tray with 6 of these gigantic, like they were ceramic is what they were. And they were like pitchers where you pitch, you pour water or wine out of. So he goes, Keith, we're going to do this scene and we're going to do it every time, hit you over the head, unless you do it right the first time. And so I clicked on it. I said, Samo, that's hard as a rock. And he just smiled. And I said, but it's not breakaway. He goes, no breakaway. So I said, can you give me a knife? They brought me a knife, and I literally went in to chisel some of the ceramic out. I said, forget it. It doesn't work. But I wanted to try to make it thinner. And he giggled. But I went, let's just do it. So we did the scene, and that last fight scene, the last scene of that fight, Yong Bao jumps up on the table, grabs it, and I can see it coming. I know. I put my hands like this, and he crashes me over the head. It hurt so bad, it knocked me out totally. And as I'm falling to the ground, you'll see a slight smile on my face because I'm thinking, I'm the dumbest person in the world to allow them to knock me out. And I just went out. And I was out. I don't know how long I was out. But when I came out, they were all clapping. And that's how the Chinese got me back.
Wow, that's a crazy story. Wow, that's shocking. That is. I remember the scene. I remember the scene like a big jug. It was the end scene for it,
Exactly.
wasn't it?
Exactly. And when I'm down, I'm out. I'm really out.
Wow, that is crazy. It's mad
Yeah.
what goes on behind the scenes that you don't realise, isn't it?
But it was warranted. I deserved it, and I didn't mind. And I took it in stride, and I had a good attitude about it. And they all clapped and hugged me, and but they were going to pay me back.
That's a funny story. What about the other films like No Retreat, No Surrender, Free? How was that for you?
Wonderful. I started with a guy named Lauren Avedon, and just wonderful film. Keith Strandberg, one of my best friends in life, he produced it and he wrote it, and he did all the No Retreat, Surrender movies. There's like a trilogy of them, and I was only in the third one, and it was a great experience. And it was disappointing that the film didn't really get distribution that it deserved here in the States, but it went all over the world. And so when I go to Europe sometimes, they had seen that film. More people would recognize me from that film than here in the States would, or that were martial artists. And but I think that ending fight scene is one of my favorite scenes with Lauren Avedon. We're fighting a guy and his name is Ryan Hunter in real life, and he's got a white wig on. And the reality is, he's a great athlete. He's probably a green belt, maybe not even that. I don't even know, but he wasn't a martial artist. He was doubled in every scene. But the
What
reality of
he had a
film,
stunt double, did he, Keith?
yeah, a Chinese stunt double. The reality of filmmaking is you believe what you see. And by seeing that, most people, including my son, Travis, would go, Dad, you and Lauren suck. And I go, why? He goes, you let that old man beat you both up. I went, no, it's in the film. No, it's in the film. He goes, yeah, but the guy was better than both of you. No, that's in the film, and that's how it looked. But the guy, it technically wasn't even a martial artist, but the perception is because he beat us up, we kind of win at the end, but it was a hard time winning. But Lauren's a great martial artist, and I consider him one of the best kickers in all film. And we had a great time making that film.
Yeah, that's the 2-on-1 at the end, that fight scene, isn't it? It's really good fight, that one. Yeah. I had Lauren Avedon on actually a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, did you really? Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, we're good friends. We're good friends.
Yeah, it's awesome. And to Keith, did you ever read any, apart from the Jackie Chan incident with the on the Wheels on Mills one with the jug, have you ever had many injuries in the film sets?
Yes, working with Lauren Avedon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it wasn't in the film. It was the week before the filming, and believe it or not, we were with the producer and Keith Strandberg, um, uh, and we were at one of the local karate schools in Clearwater, Florida, and the producer and G would like to see Lauren and I throw some techniques before the film started. Tony Leung is the fight stunt coordinator, so he wanted to see it. So we're all there, and all of us threw our techniques, and we were all good. We were about to leave when Lauren, at the last second, does a running, flying sidekick and does a double sidekick to the top of a bag, a hanging bag, and he hit it and bounced back. Looks at me, and I said, "Well, I'll try that myself." Well, there was somebody holding the bag for Lauren Avedon. Well, he left. So now I do it. I do my flying sidekick, and I remember getting up because I'm a high jumper. I have good height, and I was impressed myself. I went, "My God, this looks nice." I've never done a flying sidekick with both legs, but I got up, two legs hit the top of the bag. The bag moved. When it moved, I crashed right down to the concrete and broke my wrist. The bone popped out.
Oh, blimey.
They rushed me to the hospital, put the bone in, wrapped it, and then I had to film. Luckily, Lauren and Keith Strandberg fought for me to stay in the film because they should have got rid of me because I had a broken wrist. But they put a cast on it. Keith wrote into the script where I have a cast on it from the first opening in the scene in No Retreat, No Surrender 3.
Yeah,
so now I have a cast. And then for the rest of the movie, I shot that movie with a broken wrist. It was painful. Every scene I did, I was in excruciating pain because when you first get a broken wrist, it takes weeks. And I'm filming a week later, I'm doing full fight scenes with a broken wrist.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I remember the broken wrist in the film. It was actually real. It's really interesting to hear some of those stories.
Yeah, and I blame Lauren Avedon because Lauren laughs about it. I said, Lauren, if you hadn't done that showing off doing that damn kick, I would have never broken my wrist in the first place.
What was your favourite movie to have been in, Keith?
Well, Wheels on Mills would be my favorite because of who I was working with. My favorite. All of them were good. I enjoyed so many of them. No Retreat was really good. But I really enjoyed Super Fights. The last ending fight scene of Super Fights was really good. I had a great time in American Kickboxer with John Barrett. We filmed in South Africa, and that was a great experience. And Brad Morris, and so I've had some really good experiences. Revenge was enjoyable, but not at the time because I didn't know what I was doing. I'm going through it, and it was so bloody at the time and violent. My mindset was, oh, this is not going to be accepted that well in the United States. Oh, they're not going to like this. That's what I'm thinking. Oh no, was I so wrong? It was beloved. To this day, is my son's favorite movie. People still love that movie. Revenge of the Ninja is probably one of the biggest movies of all time, and it's very violent, but it's over the top. Shokasugi's got 48 weapons. He pulls out of the air nowhere, and I always go, where'd you get that weapon from? He'd be climbing a high story building and pulling out bazookas. I go, where'd that come from? But it didn't matter. The perception that just all they cared about it was just good action and good music, and it was just done so well. And Sam Furstenberg was the director, and my good friend, who's no longer with us, was a guy named Stephen Lambert. He just passed away not long ago. He went to Israel, and he was supposed to, and I were supposed to do something together, and I got picked up a virus, but he was the stunt coordinator, and he was fantastic. So no, I've enjoyed a lot of my films, but my favorite would have to be Wheels on Mills, just because when you get the opportunity to work with Sammo Hung and Jackie Chan and Yong Bao, and it's a very pleasurable experience. You come away and you realize that's once in a lifetime.
Yeah, with that Wheels on Wheels as well, that's a very fast-paced action. With the choreography, must have been really hard to learn for that.
No, they don't give you a chance to say it's hard to learn. They put it together right on the spot.
Oh,
Most
really?
films you have a week or two rehearsal. You work and you go, you put your fight sequence together. And my good friend, Scott Atkins, I talked to him about it when he's doing movies, and they'll plan it all out, and they get their stunt people and they work and rehearse. And then time of shooting, let's do it. When you do the movies with the Chinese, there's not even a script. In Hong
Wow.
Kong, there's no script. You just here, okay, what are we doing next? And then they come over to you and you go, here's your next 5, 8, 10 moves. And then they come over and they show us. And then you go and you go, okay, let's go slow one time. Okay, let's shoot.
Wow.
And then
That
you
must
do
be
it
that
over
must
and
be really
over.
hard to get.
Especially you got weapons and you duck in, you got to know where your mark is. And oh, yeah, it's learning by fire, but it's
And,
enjoyable.
and that the
And the
whole
No
film
Retreat
was filmed
Surrender
like
movies.
that.
Yeah, but No Retreat, No Surrender movies are filmed the same way. The Chinese are stunt coordinators. Tony Leung, that's how they do it. You put 4, 5, 8 moves together. Like Lauren and I would rehearse those moves, and then they go, "You comfortable? Okay, let's shoot." Okay, you stop it. Then you do it over and over and over, how many times they want. Then they go and they start at that time. They'll put the next 8 or 10 moves together while you sit and what you like this, and you just sit here waiting. They put those moves together. They walk back over to you and they go, okay, here's your next 8 or 10 moves. And practice, practice. One of them was, believe it or not, they came over and I had that cast and I have a gun. And I'm a CIA agent. And Lauren, I'm the police person, basically, an agent. And Lauren's my little brother. I got to save him. Well, anyway, I'm fighting. I get knocked down. Well, Tony Leon comes to me and says, okay, your next moves are, Keith, you do a kip up. Then you're going to do this. And I went, first I said, what's a kip up? And he smiles. He goes, oh, it's when you don't use your hands and you just pop up from the back. And I said, well, I've never done that before. He goes, you have to learn. And then he got one of his stunt guys. He says, you have 5 minutes to learn. Go teach him. And he takes me to the side while everybody's waiting. And they just showed me how to do a kip up. And then I learned how to do it just based on my neck. And then he goes, okay, you ready? All right, let's shoot. I get in position and action. I have to take my back of my neck, kick my legs up and kip up, and then go into the action scene.
Wow, that's amazing. You're literally put on the spot right there and then, no
Well,
rehearsals
yeah.
or nothing.
And you don't say no to them, and you don't say I can't do that. And part of if you ever wanted to break into films or be a film star, if when you start saying, "Oh, I can't do that," or I don't have that ability," they just usually replace you with somebody that has that ability. So
Yeah,
I
you
was
have to step
fortunate
up
because
to
I
the
had a little
mark.
bit of a name. Yeah, but my attitude was I can do anything. Now, could I? I don't know. But to them, they go, can you do that? I said, and I would say these words. I said, I can do anything. And they laugh. I go, show me. I'll do it. Just show me I can do anything. Because I'm a kicker. I have long legs. so I can make the techniques look pretty when I'm doing them.
Keith, you also went into producing films, is that correct?
Right. I got with my friend Keith Strandberg, and we did a few films together. And I said, Keith, I'd like to produce as well, learn how. And he said, okay, I'm going to let you star in your next film, Super Fights, and also produce it with him. So we did that together. And it was hard because it's a double duty. It's twice as hard because the takes and the filming and one in fight scene takes a week, 14 hours a day. Well, I've also got to be at the office doing the paperwork and getting everything set up because I'm producing it. And I've got to make sure that the set's ready for the next day. I got to make sure the actors are coming in, the plane schedules, all I'm working with the staff doing all that, as well as then I got to go shoot. And I went, wow, this is hard. And then finally, I did a movie with two great guys from UK, Darren Chevali and um, Gary Daniels, and we did Blood Moon. Oh my gosh, that was wonderful! And I co-produced that with Keith Sternberg again. We shot that at the beach in North Carolina, and it was a great film and some of the best action ever. Really, just really good. Really enjoyed it.
How did you find the producing side of it compared to actually being hands on it on the other side of the camera?
You won't believe this, but there's a mentality on a set. You have those that are the crew members, you have the actors, and then you have the suits. You have management. Management and the suits are evil or bad. They're the ones not paying you enough or working you too hard or whatever. So I came from this side of the acting. I also did stunts. So here I'm coming from this. Everybody loved me. Oh, there's Keith. Oh, he's a great guy. I could take my Jeep, run over your yard, your flowers. Oh, look how he did that. He's an actor. Oh, he's so cool. But the minute I turned over and became a producer, the same people I had worked with before on the crews and the sets would barely talk to me. And I go, why not? And they go, because now you're management. And I go, wow, what a difference in mentality. But I enjoy having some control over my future. I like creating. I like putting things together, creating it and seeing it at the end. So I really enjoyed working with Keith Strandberg.
Are you still into the film work and producing now, Keith, or have you come out of
No,
that now?
believe it or not, Keith Strandberg and I talk. He lives in Switzerland, and we FaceTime each other once every 2 weeks. So we're talking about doing things together. I've got Lauren Avedon. I've flown a few times into Florida to spend some time with him. We're talking about doing the film together. And we're working on scripts right now for him and I to do not a No Retreat Surrender 3 sequel, but something where we're brothers again.
That'd be good. Be good to see you back on together.
Oh, yeah. I can do what I can do, but I found out I can still kick. And Lauren is in great shape. He doesn't age at all. So we can still do some things together.
Keith, I'll tell you what I miss from the old time sort of martial art movies. I think the now movies, the martial art movies, it's become too much like gymnastics. It's like somersaults and I think it really misses the old element of the martial artist where before you'd actually see like a real fight with a martial artist, where now coming from a martial art background, it's not believable for me. So I much prefer the older style of martial arts films to today's. It'd be really good to sort of get that element back into the films.
You're so right, because now with special effects, CGI, you can create anything. And what's happening is you don't even have to be a martial artist. You can take actors and actresses and you can just have them be flexible and do a spinning technique and move the camera around, jump the camera around, do a lot of inserts. And all of a sudden you've created all, and then double them. You've created all these phenomenal martial arts, not even a martial art. There's actors and actresses that are superstars fighting. There's fighting in every film now. I don't care if you're Tom Cruise or who you are, you're doing spin kicks and karate moves. But back then we had no CGI. We had things called wires. If I remember talking with Scott Adkins and Keith Cook. These are two of the best on film, and they could do triple kicks, and they could do things you just couldn't believe. Whereas myself, I had to be wired up to do a triple kick. You know, I can do two. I can jump and spin, but sometimes we had this one scene. Tully Leon comes to me early in the morning and he goes, "I like you to." Our opening scene is where you're fighting Brandon Gaines, who's the good guy in the film, and I'm playing the villain in super fights. And Kelly Gallant is his girlfriend, and the mother's there, and another girl. Well, anyway, I have to do a jump flying kick and kick three people, and then come down at 7:30 in the morning. And I had, sore from the day before because this is the end where we're filming 12, 14 hours a day, and your body aches at night. I can't tell you how your body aches at night. I don't care if you just did a back fist 100 times. We'll do it 1,000 times. Do a 5,000. Well, you wake up the next day, your arm's sore. Well, do that for 14 hours and do it for 7 days in a row. It's spinning kicks. And you don't get to do it like when I fight, I could take my time and relax and move in real life. But when you're filming, you have to give 100% speed and power. You've got to give intensity for every technique. So you're doing that over and over and over. And wow, that really does become hard.
Yeah, it must be as well. As you're sort of getting tireder and you have to put more effort in to make that same sort of finesse about it.
And that's where the accidents come in. That's where I knocked out Sammo Hung. It's because probably it was the 40th or 50th take, and I'm tired and I'm jumping. I'm not as crisp. But they give you time. But a lot of times you don't have a lot of time in between because it's getting dark or they only have the set for 12 hours, whatever the case might be. So they're always rushing you. So you just got to be patient, and usually there's no air conditioning because you can't have the sound. And if you're fighting in a place, I fought in a place with 105 degrees and you're just sweating. Now, you fight in 105 degrees for 12 hours, nonstop, 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 nonstop. And you have to change clothes because your clothes are soaking wet.
Okay, can I just ask you, what's your own opinion, personal opinion on the sort of how the film industry's gone with the fighting now? Like we was talking about with the martial artists not really being martial artists.
Well, I think that the fighters are acting a whole different or adding a whole different level of excitement with some of the spins and some of the acrobatics, but it can get over the top. I've seen things doing where they're acrobatic, but it's nothing to do with the kicks or the fight. You know, I like the acrobatic sometimes when you're reacting to it, where I hit somebody and they spin 3 times. I kind of enjoyed that, but sometimes it takes away. But I don't like it. I like to pull the camera back for a two shot so you can see the whole frame and you can see the aesthetic beauty of the techniques. When you get that camera in too close and then they speed it up and they're moving it, that's because usually one of the fighters aren't skilled enough and there's too many misses or it doesn't look good enough. And so they bring the camera in close and they'll do an insert and then they'll bring it out, insert, and they move it. And then they say it adds action because it's movement, but it's not enjoyable for me. I'd rather sit back and see two fantastic athletes, guy or girl, doesn't matter. Charlie Theron is not even a martial artist, but I've seen her in films where I go, oh my God, she's better than I've ever been. She did one film with Daniel Bernhardt and Atomic Blonde, and I thought she was better than I've ever been. But she had beautiful technique, but they pulled that camera back and let her be explosive with her technique. So I was blown away with her.
Yeah, I've noticed you see a lot of that in films now. You'll see them sort of, they jump up as if to do a kick and you'll literally just see the foot go across the face. You don't see the full, which for me it sort of ruins the excitement and the enjoyment of the martial arts element in the film.
Guess how they used to do it in Hong Kong. So we working with the Hong Kong directors. I've done a few films with them. They do this. So you do your technique and they hit you with a kick and they miss you. And then they go, okay, cut. Okay, now we're going to do our inserts. The inserts is the stuntman comes, he puts on your socks, puts the socks on his hand, puts the shoe on his hand. Then they put talcum powder. They put some on their shoe. Then they spritz your face. And then they go, okay, you ready, Keith? And they go, ready, action. And they actually hit you with the hand. They slap you with their foot, but there's a shoe on your hand. So they smack you that way. So it looks like you got hit. Guess what? You really did get hit. But the shoe was on the hand as you're doing those inserts.
Wow. So,
Yeah,
so
it's
Keith,
good trick.
what sort of path are you going down now in your life, in your own personal life? You still involved in the movie industries, or you've gone to a
Well,
different
here's what I
direction
do.
now?
Living a very good life. I have an insurance agency. I have a podcast called Sidekick Podcast. And I interview people like you're interviewing. I've interviewed so many great martial artists in films that I am at the stage of my life where I am trying to pay back to martial arts. And because we don't have magazines any longer, we don't have the new generation of martial artists really realize and knowing who all these older fantastic martial arts champions, or not just champions but also film stars, were. So what I've done is I bring it back on the show and I try to reintroduce them to a whole new generation of, martial artists. So that's one of my passions. I do stuff. I still write books. I wrote a book with my grandchild about safety, about bullying, and won an award for that one. My wife has a president of a mortgage company, so she does mortgages. I do insurance. I have a podcast I do where I interview, celebrities and martial artists, and then I'm still active in the film world. And so I stay busy the whole time, and I'm an athlete, so I play competitive tennis now. Last year, our team won the state champions in tennis, so I still play twice a week. On Wednesday night from 8 to 10 at night, I'm playing tennis hardcore. Friday night, I'm playing tennis. So I'm not resting on my laurels. I'm still doing martial arts. I have a gym in my house, so I'm still doing the bag and working out. I train with a guy named Keith Cook. He has the ring. It's an apparatus where you get in shape, and he trains me. He puts me on film. We zoom in and he takes me through my classes.
So Keith, also you're known for being a 10th degree black belt. Could you just talk us through that,
Right.
please?
Wonderful. I am so honored. I am such my legacy is I have one of the greatest legacies in the whole world, because Jun Ri came to America from Korea a long time ago. Jun Ri is just phenomenal. He was the highest ranked black belt in America at the time. And his students, Alan Steen, Pat Burleson, he has students like Jeff Smith, and he has thousands and thousands of students downline. And these students traveled all over the country, and they opened up schools, and there's thousands and millions of students now. Well, the head ones, when Jun Ri died, Alan Steen became the leading black belt, highest ranked black belt in the United States. And so he invited me to get my 10th degree black belt. And my good friends, Bruce Brucci and Mike Geneva. And I was so honored to go down there, and I had probably one of the greatest boards in the history of American martial arts, because all the great martial artists were there. Bill Wallace and Bob Wall and all these great martial artists were in attendance, and Super Dan Anderson, and all these great people. So they were there in attendance, and it was just a blessing to get my 10th degree from the highest ranking black belt. So I have a great legacy, and it's just an honor. So and then the awards are great, but these are kind of awards I get from. They give all these old people awards, and so many martial arts Hall of Fames, and that's fine. But the one I care about the most, and there's some I really do, the Black Belt Hall of Fame is my favorite from Black Belt Magazine. That's my favorite. And also, I started one with some friends. We started the South Carolina Karate Hall of Fame for our state, and then we put in, members within our state into that Hall of Fame, and we've been recognized by the governors, and and it's really nice, the administration. So I'm hoping to leave a legacy, not just for myself, but for all these other people, these wonderful martial artists I put in this Hall of Fame, and now they have a legacy for generations to come as well.
Yeah, I think that's really great. I think martial arts is, you train and you get good, and then it's passing that knowledge on, isn't it? It's keeping it going.
Exactly.
So Keith, I just want to touch a little bit. Obviously you wrote quite a lot of martial art books as well. Could you just run us through them and how you become sort of being an author for that?
Well, I was so fortunate, because when I was early in my career, I developed a name, and by becoming the number one fighter in the country and being on magazines, I sparked the interest from book publishers. And one of them was called Contemporary Books. And they asked me to write a book. And I didn't know much about it. So I got a local newspaper editor, Kent Mitchell, to help me with it. We wrote the book called Beginning Karate, 30 pages, no big deal. Well, we sent the raw footage in the book to the publisher. He called me up and he said it's the best well-written book he's ever had for his company. He's going to use my book as a template for all how to do books or how to do anything. I don't care what your background is. So he said, not only that, we're going to now get you to write 2 more books for our company. So I wrote 2 more books. They pay me very well. I got residuals for them. And I had books. My one book, my first book, became the book for the University of South Carolina, where I went and I taught, and I got my black belt at the University of South Carolina. It became the official school book for the karate program there. And then I started doing bullying books. I have an interest in self-defense, and then I did a tape called Self-Defense for Kids. There's this personality. I don't know if you ever heard of Oprah before, but I was on the Oprah show, which was the biggest show in America at the time. And because I had a tape where I taught kids how to defend themselves without hurting the other child. So that did real well and went all over the country. And then, I just happened to be the right place, right time. My book, my video put me on the front cover of every newspaper in the country. So I had a good career with that. But the one I cared the most is I did a tournament fighting book. Oh my gosh, I love it. I had Mike Stone on the cover and James Liu with me. And that became like one of the Bibles of the how to fight books. But just recently, my grandson was sitting next to me. I said, I'm going to write a book for illustrated book for kids. And so we put one together. And we wrote this book, but as I'm starting to write it, he says, well, how are you going to write a book about a 10-year-old? And I went, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. He says, well, granddad, you're old. You don't know anything about 10-year-olds. I said, well, would you help me? He said, yeah. So he did the dialogue. He wrote what a 10-year-old would say and how they would talk. So we wrote it together. We got the book published. It's gone all over. It's done well. And then South Carolina, the state recognized the book and gave us a proclamation, gave us an award for the book already as well. Yeah, I was
Cool.
with my grandson this weekend. I took him to the golf course. We're playing golf together. He's 14. I'm in heaven. I have my 14-year-old grandson. I wrote a book with my 14-year-old grandson, and we're playing golf together. I'm in heaven. Can't get any better
Great.
than it.
A great legacy and memory to leave as well, isn't it?
Yep.
Keith, I don't want to keep you too much long because I really appreciate what time you've given me. But could I just ask, is there any words of advice you could give the youngsters that either want to follow the path of the martial arts or maybe go into the movie industry? What sort of words of advice would you give them?
Good questions. One would be, if you're just interested in martial arts, I think it's the smartest decision you would ever make. And if you're a parent and you have a child or children, I would encourage you to enroll them into a martial arts school. There's no better fundamental establishment ever created on this planet that's better for upbringing for kids than martial arts training. Part of our unrest in the world today is because of lack of respect, lack of discipline. The martial arts emphasizes and teaches the tenets of martial arts. So if I was the president of the world, I would mandate and force, probably like they do in Asian countries, that your first 2 years, 3 years of school, kindergarten and primary schools would be martial arts training, but not so much the physical side of it, where you're punching and kicking, but the respect and discipline and learning the tenets of martial arts, leadership training. So from that aspect, I think there's nothing better you can do in life than you personally enroll into a martial arts school, academy, studio, but especially enroll your kids, because your kids will have a head start in life if they're involved in martial arts versus a child that's not. I don't care who they are. If they're involved in martial arts, they're going to be disciplined, well trained, and they're going to have respect. And that's what we need for everybody. If you're breaking into films, the way to break into films, and I taught for 10 years with Keith Strandberg and another guy who's no longer with us named Michael D. Pasquale Jr. We taught people how to break into films in our camps. And we had a camp in New York. People would fly in from all over the country and come to these camps. And we would train them how to break into films. The key to breaking into films is first bring everything you can to the table. If you have acrobatic skills or spinning kicks or whatever, you got to learn those. You've got to be proficient because they see somebody auditioning next to you. Well, they're going to be better. They're going to be hired. So first, be the best you can be for a martial artist. And then two, don't go in with the mindset that you want to be the star. They've already got their star for these films. Don't go in saying, I'm going to be Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan or Scott Adkins or Michael J. White, because they've already got these. These are the stars. When they come into your community, your city, or wherever, they're looking for stunt fighters usually, or secondary people to be in your films. Be prepared for that. And the way to be prepared for that is be proficient at learning how to react from kicks and punches. If your reactions are superior, then they're going to choose you every time. So if you have a 10th degree black belt and a green belt, the 10th degree black belt is the best fighter you've ever seen, but it's emotional, has no facial expressions. Beautiful technique. Who cares? They've already got the fighter doing the technique. We need somebody reacting from the technique. You're not going to be doing 50 spin kicks. It's the good guy that's going to be doing the spin kicks and stuff. They're going to be hitting you. If you can sell that, what they call selling it, really react. If you can make the female or male star look great, then they're going to allow you to be in another scene and more scenes and more movies. And the way you break into films is by being the stunt fighter, and my suggestion, recommendation, and you really make that person you're working with look the best they can look. And that's how I suggest breaking into films.
Keith, that's absolutely awesome. I'm not going to hold you any longer. I really appreciated you coming on. It's been absolutely awesome listening to your stories. Thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it myself. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Lee. I'm taking off. Thank you, buddy.
Mate.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye, mate. Thank you.